The Post on Church Point Road in Gonzales would like to invite everyone to their newly renovated events hall, a beautiful 9,600 square foot facility that features a 5,500 square foot main hall and a separate 600 square foot conference room. Renters have access to our huge kitchen, large stage, tables, chairs, bar, and covered outdoor cooking. So plan your next wedding, party, conference, and more at The Post on Church Point Road in Gonzales.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
At the Team Automotive Group, we make it easy for you to buy here or sell here. Buy here and save on hundreds of certified and pre-owned vehicles. Or sell here while your vehicle is worth more than it ever has been and we'll pay you top value. Buy here or sell here at the Team Automotive Group.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Start another day's edition of the Clarence Buggs Show. Here's hoping all is well with you and yours in your world since the last opportunity we had to spend a little time with you some 24 hours ago. We start today's show with Louisiana news. For our fellow Louisianians adversely impacted by Hurricane Ida, if you have not yet applied for assistance, your time, my friends, is getting short. You now have less than 2 weeks to apply for FEMA assistance for both individuals and family households in the wake of that devastating storm. If you are not aware, FEMA assistance in this regard can cover rental assistance, temporary housing, home repairs, personal property, losses and other disaster-related needs not covered by insurance. Now, the easiest way, according to FEMA, for you to apply for this assistance is online at disasterassistance.gov. Disasterassistance.gov. You can also do it by phone at 800-621-3362. That's 800-621-3362. The lines are open there 6 a.m. until 12 midnight, 7 days a week. And you can also, obviously, visit a disaster recovery center in person. Be advised, however, you will need to bring a mask. November 29th, also the deadline to apply for a Small Business Administration disaster loan. If you've not already done so, folks, again, time is getting short. And typically for things like this, we find there may or may not be an extension in that regard. Don't take that chance. If you need the assistance, apply today. Get the ball rolling, because as I'm sure you are well aware, the wheels of government many times turn very slowly. So don't procrastinate. Get that out of the way. Here in East Baton Rouge, good news for students announced yesterday as the EBR public school system announcing November 4th, the start of the next semester, the mask mandates will go away. You'll still have the opportunity, if you so choose to have your child bring and wear a mask. It is, quote, optional, meaning no longer mandatory, but if you're more comfortable continuing the process, then by all means do so. Now, there is a federal mandate regarding masks for children on school buses. That will remain in effect. However, once they get off the bus, arrive at school, if they don't feel like wearing a mask that day, they won't have to. Good news in that regard. And of course, if anything changes in that, then you, of course, will be the first people that we let know. Also, Entergy announcing this week that they've taken quite a hit in recent memory. Entergy announcing they, in addition to the $2.2 billion in damage suffered by last year's storms, add another $2.2 billion to their infrastructure damage from Hurricane Ida. So you're talking in a span of 18 months thereabout, a loss of over $4 billion in revenue to Entergy. Now, if you know anything at all about this sort of stuff, that means, yep, you're right. Clarence, that means we're going to have to pay for them to rebuild their infrastructure. And yeah, you'd be right. It is estimated today that we can expect utility bills to go up on average anywhere from $11 to $15 a month for the next, wait for it, 15 years. You heard me right. Entergy saying that because of the costs associated with the damage to the grid, that they are, as responsible stewards of the grid, going to have additional money to pay for this. It is hoped, and I stress hoped, that some of that money will be offset by federal disaster funds. In an ideal world, that would be the case. However, the federal government traditionally has been reluctant to fork over billions of dollars to privately owned industries, even though in this case they are, quote, serving the public. Whether or not the federal government sees fit to open the coffers and help Entergy out, only time will tell. But in the interim, as is the case, I guess, with any business, they're not going to just sit there waiting on Papa Moneybags to ride onto the scene and rescue them from the situation. Ironically, Entergy says the bills could go up anywhere from $11 to $15 a month, but they're not going to know for sure, conceivably, as long as 2 years down the road. That's in part because the way they operate, invoices come in slowly over time regarding the costs that Entergy has incurred so far. So it may be up to 2 years before we know how much those bills are going to increase. I guess in the grand scheme of things, considering what we've been through in recent memory, $11 to $15 a month, and I know the folks that are living on strict budgets will say, well, Clarence, I don't know, that $15 adds up. And you'd be right. Quick math, $15 a month, Marty, for a year is what, 180 bucks? 12 times 15? Close enough? All right, close enough. Public school math, thank you kindly. 15 bucks a month in the grand scheme of things may not seem like a lot of money, but when you add it up over the course of 15 years, and of course that will be outside of inflation and other factors that may enter the equation, it is not something any of us look forward to, but it's the reality of where we live. We love our Louisiana. Many of us would never live anyplace else. And of course, along with living here comes the threat of hurricanes every single year. And the fact of the matter is, unless and until we arrive at a point where our utilities, particularly the high transmission lines and the things that feed the circuitry, until we storm-proof this stuff, which may or may not include burying utilities underground, it's just something we're going to have to deal with. Sooner or later, however, we reach the tipping point where it's costing us more to constantly repair it than it would have cost us to storm-proof it some years ago. It is not something that anybody looks forward to, but again, it's the reality. And at the end of the day, the reality is what the reality is. Not what we wished it would be, not what we hoped it would be. It is what it is. We are rounding the corner of 3rd and heading towards home for the first break of this hour. When we come back, however, it seems as though our government, federal government, is engaged in an exercise to prove to us that the level of insanity in our government has no end. Just when you think, surely, certainly, there is no way they could do anything more stupid than what they did yesterday, all you have to do is just keep breathing. You know, I'll give you a little tease for the next segment. In this country right now, if you ask, I don't know, 100, 1,000, 10,000 of your fellow Americans, what are the issues they are most concerned with in this country? Probably in everybody's top 3, certainly top 5. The situation at the border is going to register. It's something that everyday Americans are concerned about. And this week, the head of the Department of Homeland Security, responsible for securing our border, went before Congress and was asked, what kind of grade would you give yourself for your performance so far? I'll give you a little hint. This is based on a regular grading scale, A through F. What do you think Secretary Mayorkas graded himself as? Well, if you stick around, you'll find out. But first, got to get this break out of the way. We'll come back and talk more with you right where you've got it on today's edition of the Clarence Buggs Show, only on the Pelican. Stay close.
Hi, I'm Bobby Yarborough with Manda Fine Meats. Here at Manda, we know what the folks of South Louisiana love. They love great flavored smoked sausage, delicious deli meats, and specialty items like boudin and andouille sausage. Manda Fine Meats has been providing these products since 1947. We produce them right here in Baton Rouge, so you know you're always getting the freshest product at your local grocery store. Manda Fine Meats. Taste the fresh local flavor in everything we make. Make it Manda every time.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent. Depend on us for service, for selection, for price. Get huge Whirlpool savings. Shop now and save on Whirlpool appliances throughout the store. Plus, experience our price match guarantee and ask about special financing.
You can depend on the know-how of people who live appliances every day.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent with nationwide buying power.
I owed the IRS $10,000.
The IRS garnished my wages.
They put a lien on my house.
I'm self-employed and didn't report all my income. They claim I owe a lot more than I do.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world. They do not give up until you pay.
I couldn't sleep. We were being audited. I called Tax Solutions Now, and a great big weight was lifted off my shoulders.
I called Tax Solutions Now, and they got the IRS off my back.
Tax Solutions Now had my wage garnishment lifted in 48 hours.
Tax Solutions Now can get you help. Our agents know the rules, can stop the pain, and get you the best deal.
Tax Solutions Now saved my business.
I qualified for the Fresh Start program. I paid less than I owed.
We connect you with a team of former IRS agents and tax professionals who get the IRS off your back. Time is running out. Call Tax Solutions now.
Call 800-778-4345. 800-778-4345.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to GreystoneCountryClub.com.
Welcome back to today's edition of the Clarence Buggs Show. I guess if I were to dredge up an old adage to summarize this segment of today's show, it would be one that many of you are well familiar with. The one that says, it's often better to be thought a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. Meaning, if people think you're lacking as far as your mental acumen is concerned, it's often better to simply let them think that way, but for God's sake, don't open your mouth and prove them right. I mentioned in the last segment how if you were to walk up to a random 100 of your fellow Americans today and ask them, what are the things you're most concerned with in America these days? Of the 100 people you posed that question to, I would imagine illegal immigration is going to be in the top 3 or top 5 answers from all 100 of your fellow Americans. So this week, the Judiciary Committee in Washington, D.C., called to testify before them the Secretary of our very own Department of Homeland Security, Secretary Mayorkas. And in the course of his testimony, he was asked, how would you grade yourself and your agency's performance in the going on a year now that you've been in charge of Homeland Security? Here comes the part about keeping your mouth shut or opening your mouth and removing all doubt. His response, quote, I would give myself an A for effort because I'm tough when I grade myself. So let me get this right. 15, 20,000 Haitian illegal immigrants put under an interstate overpass out of doors for over a month, and then taking these 15,000 illegal immigrants in the dead of night, mind you, and busing and flying them to locations all around the country, never once giving a heads up to the governors, the mayors, the councils of these cities, but you give yourself an A for effort. It is estimated, as we speak, upwards of 200,000 illegal immigrants from Central America and other places are marching through Mexico en route to enter this country illegally, and you would give yourself an A for effort. Tens of thousands of unvetted Afghan citizens flown into this country and set free with no clue where they are. But you give yourself an A for effort. 95,000 illegal immigrants in just half of this year. 95,000 have been released in this country with no court date to show up and have adjudicated whether or not we should have let you in. By the way, of that 95,000, the number of folks that have disappeared is frightening. But you give yourself an A for effort. Okay? Meanwhile, it's estimated over 2 million people will enter this country illegally this year. That's just those that we catch. It's estimated as many as half of that, around another million, will get in and won't be caught. But you give yourself an A for effort. Meanwhile, as the federal government continues to try and mandate a vaccine that you want nothing to do with, I'm sorry, a shot, not a vaccine, and you let close to 2 million people into this country, ship them all around the length and breadth of this grand republic of ours, didn't test them for Delta, certainly didn't give them the shot, but you give yourself an A for effort, because after all, you're tough on yourself when you give yourself a grade. You know, on an ordinary day, if it weren't so dangerously sad, it might be funny. On the minds of most Americans these days is our porous, god-awful situation at the border. But the guy in charge gives himself an A for effort. As a thinking person, I have to wonder, if things are this bad and you give yourself an A for effort, how god-awful would it have to be for you to earn an F? The average American is of the opinion our border is completely out of control. But Secretary Mayorkas says we're on the road to fix it, by golly. Of course, now, in hindsight, sounds about right for this administration. Totally and completely tone deaf, totally and completely out of touch with everyday Americans, totally and completely clueless when it comes to the things that regular folks like you and I are concerned about. And this, my friends, is allegedly, reportedly, what you voted for. More people in the history of elections in this country, if you believe that, voted for Joe Biden. So I guess, again, in retrospect, the people he's put in charge typically would be just as out of touch as he is. You've heard, speaking of old adages, birds of a feather tend to flock together. That pretty much sums it up. Yeah? If the guy in charge is out of touch totally with the people he's supposed to serve, it only stands to reason the people he appoints to key positions will be of like-mindedness. That's just the way the world works. Sadly, however, in doing so, you exacerbate the problem because now you live in an echo chamber. So I can only imagine when Joe Biden tuned in, if he did, to the testimony before the Judiciary Committee, and Secretary Mayorkas said, well, I'm tough when I grade myself. I give myself an A for effort. Joe's probably cheering him on. Meanwhile, maybe I missed it and y'all can help me. After her trip to Central America to find out and address the root causes of illegal immigration, has anybody heard or seen a plan from the White House or the border czar, as we call her, Vice President Kamala Harris, on how they're going to fix this? That was rhetorical. You know the answer. I know the answer. She knows the answer. Joe knows the answer. Nope, not a peep. And yet, Secretary Mayorkas says, I'm tough when I grade myself, so I give myself an A for effort. That ain't what the A stands for, bruh. Just saying. Just saying. Bottom of the hour break. Talk about tone deaf and out of touch. It truly does trickle down from the top. That's next when we continue today's edition of the Clarence Buggs Show, only on the Pelican. Stay close.
Got termites? Get Premier Pest. PremierPestServices.com.
Sharing holiday cheers starts in the rewarding Mazda CX-30. Find yours during the season of inspiration.
You'll feel inspired this holiday season in a new CX-30 from Team Mazda on Airline.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
Hi, I am Dr. Farrell Frugier Jr., and I am a general dentist at Frugier Family Dentistry. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I went to Catholic High School, LSU, and LSU School of Dentistry in New Orleans, where I received my DDS degree in 1986. I always have and will continue to be committed to continuing my education, to invest in technology which makes the diagnosis and delivery of dentistry more thorough, more comfortable, and more aesthetically pleasing. In our practice, we are here to serve the patients. We want to improve their quality of life and to develop relationships with our patients. In dentistry, we have a chance to impact lives on a daily basis, not just by doing dentistry, but by getting to know them and being a part of their life. We also believe in giving back to our community. So every year, we give back to the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, Toys for Tots, and Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Please stop by and visit our office. We would love to take care of you and your family.
Hi, I'm Hurricane Betsy Barnes.
And I'm Dr. Kay Siller with the Rocket Right Show.
We are two busy blondes on the go showing off life in Louisiana.
Watch us on Pelican Sports Network
and Talk 107.3 FM. Check local listings for times.
Caught spiders? Premier Pest Services.
Welcome back to today's edition of the Clarence Buggs Show. You know, for those of us that have had the opportunity over any considerable amount of time to observe closely politics and government in our country, we understand full well one of the major dangers is living in the bubble. I guess it's part of the human psyche, the human experience, that typically we surround ourselves with like-minded individuals. You, if you're a liberal, typically hang out with other liberals. If you are conservative, typically you tend to gravitate more towards conservatives. People are comfortable being around like-minded individuals. Now, that being said, the danger of living in the bubble is that you become completely divorced from reality, not only on societal issues, but legal issues as well. For example, His Majesty, President Biden, recently by executive fiat, decided he was going to shove down the throats of American businesses a vaccine mandate for businesses with 100 or more employees. And of course, there were lawsuits filed. There's an uproar from business and industry leaders, not to mention the impacted workers involved. So recently, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled this should not be allowed to go forth. It's unconstitutional. It's not right. It violates many of the core principles of our country. So OSHA, charged with implementing this, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, announcing this week that they have officially suspended implementation and enforcement of the vaccine mandate for private employers of 100 or more people. The statement on OSHA's website reads as follows. On November 12, 2021, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit granted a motion to stay OSHA's COVID-19 vaccination and testing emergency temporary standard, or the EST, published on November 5th. The court ordered that OSHA take no steps to implement or enforce the ETS until further court order. While OSHA remains confident in its authority to protect workers in emergencies, OSHA has suspended activities related to the implementation and enforcement pending future developments in the litigation. The Fifth Circuit saw what most Americans see. And what was the response from the Biden-Harris administration? Well, they told business owners, listen, don't pay any attention to what the court says. You go ahead and implement this because we said you need to. Now, am I the only one here bothered by the fact that this administration apparently didn't just sleep through civics? They left the campus every single day when it was time for that class. There is a reason, and say what you will about them, love them or hate them. Say what you will about them. But the founding fathers were wise in their vision, which is why they gave us 3 equal branches of government. But the executive branch now apparently sees no need for the legislative branch. We don't need no Congress. I just get my pen and make some laws. But the news didn't stop there. Bad news for the Biden-Harris administration, as this week another federal court upheld, or let me rephrase that, upheld lawsuits filed so far to overturn the ban on drilling and exploration for oil and gas on federal lands. 2 stinging, although incomplete rulings, because in all likelihood, knowing these yahoos, they're going to take this all the way to the Supreme Court. And when the Supreme Court rules against them, we are probably going to hear more of the same. Well, y'all don't need to pay no attention to that court stuff. Do what we tell you to do. The executive branch, my fellow Americans and Louisianians, has gone completely off the rails. 3 supposedly equal branches of government. But apparently they didn't get the memo regarding this. Meanwhile, if it weren't so stupid, sad, scary, all at the same time, the disconnect continues. This week, President Biden goes out to promote his $1.2 trillion economic boondoggle. So what does he do? Well, this would be a great opportunity while we're selling this. This would be a wonderful opportunity for us to promote our green agenda. So what did he do? Well, he shows up at a GM plant in Michigan to test drive the new electric Hummer. Price tag, $100,000. And of course, Joe said, I'll take 2. One for him, one for the big guy. Joe Biden, can you believe this? Here's the real funny part. They put him behind the wheel, let him drive it. So, like most responsible people would do, he gets in and floors it. Tires squealing, smoke rising everywhere. So they interview him. They ask him a question after he drives the Hummer. And I'll paraphrase for you. Man, this thing is something. Then he says it. Speaking of the disconnect. Democrats, here's a lesson. When you're trying to make it appear as though you have something in common with regular people, there are certain things you don't say and certain things you don't do. For example, Joe comes out and says, this thing is half as heavy and 3 times as fast as my Corvette. Well, yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah. I got a Vet parked in the garage. I'm test driving a $120,000 electric Hummer. Yeah. Me and old Joe, we got a lot in common. Total and complete disconnect. But it didn't stop there. Leave it to a politician, in this case, the leader of the free world, to pat GM on the back. Y'all have led the way in ushering in the new era of electric vehicles, and this is going to mean high-paying, great jobs for middle-class Americans. And I want to thank GM for their billion-dollar investment in the technology to manufacture electric vehicles. Here's what he didn't tell you. What he either doesn't know, forgot, or just thought I could gloss it over. You know what he didn't tell you? That $1 billion that GM has pledged to do away with internal combustion engines and produce nothing but electric vehicles, that $1 billion is for their plant in Mexico. But Detroit leading the way. Y'all deserve a pat on the back. Thanks, GM, for investing in us. That $1 billion, he didn't tell you, is for GM's plants in Mexico. Go figure. Let's go, Brandon. Speaking of which, final break of today's show. Protected speech in America and the phrase, let's go, Brandon. You got to hear the Democrats' take on this. That's next when we continue today's edition of the Clarence Buggs Show, only on the Pelican. Stay close.
You can't smell it, but you can almost taste it. And whether it's for a family get-together or a game day feast, having Manda in the mix always sounds good. For 3 generations, their quality meats and original seasonings have made Manda a Louisiana legend and made their family sausage Louisiana's family sausage. Manda Fine Meats. The flavor says it all.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to GreystonecountryClub.com.
The Post on Church Point Road in Gonzales would like to invite everyone to their newly renovated events hall, a beautiful 9,600 square foot facility that features a 5,500 square foot main hall and a separate 600 square foot conference room. Renters have access to our huge kitchen, large stage, tables, chairs, bar, and covered outdoor cooking. So plan your next wedding, party, conference, and more at The Post on Church Point Road, Gonzales.
Tremonti's has meat. Tremonti's has seafood. Tremonti's has much more. Tailgating and home gating platters. Huge wine and liquor selection. Beer and all the spices you need. Chairman Reserve and Wagyu meats. Ribeye rolls, shrimp rolls, kebabs. 20 flavors of sausage for the grill. Daily lunch specials and game processing. On-site catering also available. Good meat ain't cheap and cheap meat ain't good. Visit Tremontes.com.
Sometimes life is wonderful, and sometimes it's not. Cherish the good, but always be prepared for life's challenges. At Private Healthcare, we provide the peace of mind you deserve. With Private Healthcare, you'll get the coverage you want and healthcare you need. If your employer doesn't supply healthcare coverage and you don't qualify for Medicare or Medicaid, you need to give us a call right now. Private Healthcare is private health insurance for ages 65 and under with medical, dental, vision, and even prescription coverage. When life comes at you unexpectedly, you need to be ready, and health insurance is your financial safety net. Health insurance has never been so easy and affordable. If you're looking for health coverage at the best price and your annual household income is $35,000 or more, call the number on the screen now and speak with a live healthcare consultant. Don't wait. Get the coverage you need now.
Welcome back to the final segment of today's edition of the Clarence Buggs Show. You know, there is an old reference standard for many people in my line of work, and we often question, does life imitate art, or does art imitate life? I'm sure by now, unless you are one of those that still, God forbid, for whatever earthly reason you can come up with, worship at the altar of the mainstream media, you may not be aware of, as the White House said they weren't not long ago, of the phrase and the chant that has infiltrated major entertainment venues all across our country. Let's go, Brandon. If you are a mainstream media watcher, you may not be aware of the chant. It is a sanitized version of FJB. Figure it out. Google it. Easy to find. It all stemmed from an interview on NBC Sports regarding a NASCAR driver that had won a race, Brandon Brown, and then the chant erupted from the stands, FJB, except they didn't use the letters, they chanted it out. So the NBC reporter attempting to run cover for the president said, oh, listen to the fans, they're chanting, let's go Brandon. So conservatives, being the astute individuals that they are, adopted that chant, let's go Brandon, which equals FJB. Read between the lines, people, read between the lines. It has gained so much momentum now as millions and millions and millions more of our fellow Americans every single day become completely and totally disenchanted with the current administration. Democrats and liberals now are desperately trying to find a way to short-circuit this most cherished of American freedoms, the freedom of speech. This week, Congresswoman Gloria Johnson, surprise, surprise, Democrat from Tennessee, came out and said, tweeting, as a friend said, blame it on the friend, right? The anonymous person. I think it should be equated with burning the flag. In essence, that's what they're doing. Now, first of all, The highest court in the land, the United States Supreme Court, ruled years ago that burning the flag is protected free speech. Meaning, if an American feels a certain way about something and they want to express their displeasure, disappointment, whatever, by burning the American flag, that is their right to express themselves. But now, according to this congresswoman, the courts, remember, starts at the top. Old Joe said, I know the Fifth Circuit ruled against me, but y'all go ahead with the mandates anyway. Don't listen to the courts. The courts have already ruled that it's protected free speech. Courts now, you know the hypocrites that they are. You see it every day. How many years did liberals shove down our throats on the topic of abortion? My body, my choice. Remember that? My body, my choice. But these are the same people that want the government to force you to take something in your body. Remember, my body, my choice. They now want the government to force you to take something in your body that you don't want. And you would think conventional wisdom would say, if there's anybody out there that should know, one, the Supreme Court has already ruled on this. Two, there arguably are only one or two other rights that, with real Americans, carry that much weight, and one of them certainly is freedom of speech. You notice a pattern here? Anytime liberals find something they don't agree with, you shouldn't have the right to say it. The difference here, conservatives readily said, we don't think it's right that you burn the flag. It's insulting to us. But the highest court in the land ruled this is one of the crosses we have to bear as a free society. Your rights only extend as far as the tip of your nose. After that, you're now infringing on someone else's right. But according to Gloria Johnson, those rights only apply if you agree with me. How anyone, any American, any individual, any human being could screw up so badly one of the core principles of this republic is astounding. Now, any average American that sat in a civics class for any amount of time in any grade in school would know better. But this woman roams the halls of Congress in our nation's capital. And you wonder why our country is going the way it's going? Now, at the end of the day, she's got an agenda. She is who she is. She's a politician. And you know politicians, they do what they do. But this kind of crap, y'all, can only flourish if we allow it to. What's the saying from the The movie Batman, I think it was the second one, where an observation was made. And it says, criminals thrive on the indulgence of society. Meaning, society will come up with all sorts of excuses for why folks engaged in criminal behavior. Well, they had a bad upbringing. Well, they had a problem with this. Well, they were discriminated against. This, that, whatever. You know how liberals do. They've always got a reason to point the finger of blame at somebody else. That's who they are. That's what they do. But criminals / people that want to destroy this republic, they thrive on you buying into the narrative of blaming somebody and something else. That again, my friends, can only happen if we allow it to. The Supreme Court's already ruled on it. But that's why you hear me say so often, after you vote, your job has just begun. Many of you feel, well, Clarence, I did my part. I went to the polls and I voted. That job's just beginning, y'all. You got to ride herd on these fools, because if you don't, you wake up one day and it's over. 10655 Coursey Boulevard. Old School Barbecue is where we tape the show live every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Great food, great people, great atmosphere. Come on by, they'd love to spend some time with you. And you never know who you might see when you walk through the door. Just yesterday, Uncle Roy, everybody's favorite crazy uncle, Kevin Gallagher, and I mean that affectionately, KG, they record the Fletch Nation podcast here on Wednesday. They would love to see you as well. 10655 Coursey Boulevard. Come on by and take care of that hankering I know you have for some old school barbecue. It is day 3 of the Kyle Rittenhouse jury deliberations. We will not have time to bring it to you. If anything happens between now and then, remaining 49 seconds, we'll let you know. But it appears as though they're still going to be at this for quite some time. So that being said, you already know the drill, right? Yep, my time is up and I got to go. But this day, maybe more so than any other, I give it to you. You know what? You're right. America, in no way, shape, or form are we perfect. But for this old boy's money, it's the best there is. And God knows there's no place else on his green earth that I'd rather be. Speaking of the good Lord, I know you've gotten the memo by now. You realize that he loves you, right? And I hope you know that I do too. Best news you gonna get all day, son. There ain't a doggone thing you can do about either one. We'll see you next week. God bless.